Hey everyone, welcome back to the business communications class. Today we will get to learn something that is often undervalued: preparing business reports and proposals. Why do we need reports and proposals? Reports share information with people who need to make decisions or solve problems. Proposals are documents designed to persuade a business decision maker to adopt a plan, approve a project, choose a product or service, or supply funding. In this chapter you will learn a variety of report types and formats, key writing techniques to help you produce useful, clear, concise, readable, and accurate reports, and steps to prepare effective proposals. Here is what we will learn today. These are the questions we will be answering. How can ACE help you write a business report? How should you structure typical business reports? How do you prepare an effective proposal? How do you properly respond to a request for proposal, RFP? How do you integrate visuals into a report? How should you document your research? So, how can the ACE process help you to write a perfect business report? Analyze to understand purpose and report type. There are two types of reports. An informational report summarizes what happened at a meeting or on a trip. The main goal is to provide readers with facts that they can easily understand and refer to later. For example, reports summarizing business trips or decisions made at meetings would be informational reports. And an analytical report helps readers draw conclusions to solve problems or support business decisions. For example, a report that analyzes what you learned on a business trip and then makes a recommendation would be an analytical report. The first step in writing a report is to identify the question you are answering and the type of report you are writing. The figure here lists common business questions and the types of reports that answer them. For example, the question, "What have you accomplished so far?" would fall under informational reports as a progress report. On the other hand, the question, "What should we do?" falls under analytical reports as a recommendation report. Analyze to choose the best medium. To choose the best medium, consider the following: length, audience, formality, the way you will deliver the report, and how others will use the report. Reports may be prepared in many different forms like email, memo, formal manuscript, online report, or report deck, which is a report written in PowerPoint or other presentation software. The figure given here presents the most common options for report mediums. When audiences read reports, they expect to find key elements of the report to be located in specific places, depending on the report format. These elements include identifying information, preview, detailed discussion, and, optionally, additional documentation. Identifying information. Business reports clearly identify the author, the date, and the topic or title. Some reports also indicate the intended audience. Preview. Almost all business reports use a direct organization, beginning with one or more preview elements that provide readers with a quick understanding of the purpose, structure, content, and main ideas of the report. Detailed discussion. Following the introduction, the body of the report provides the detailed discussion. The discussion is typically divided into sections that are signaled by headings. Supporting information. At the end of the report, you have the opportunity to add extra documentation to support your main points. The figure given here summarizes where these elements appear in the various report formats. It also explains how to handle page numbering in formal manuscript reports. As you read through the chapter, notice how the example reports in the figures follow these guidelines. The writing style of a report lends credibility to your results. To adopt an effective report writing style, follow this advice. Avoid narrative. Do not waste your readers' time by including a detailed account of what you did to collect the information. Be objective. For every claim you make, provide reasoning and supporting evidence. Use an appropriate tone. Although some internal reports may use informal wording, including contractions such as isn't, won't, or will, reports for external audiences are typically formal. Make the report easy to skim and the information easy to find. Use headings that flow logically and outline how the report is organized. Use a straightforward sentence style. All reports benefit from a writing style that uses concise sentences and active voice. Evaluating involves both reviewing your own work and also responding to feedback from others. As you evaluate your report, ask yourself the questions in below and use your answers as a guide for revising. When a report is particularly important, be sure to have multiple people read it and provide feedback before you finalize the content. In fact, the most experienced writers ask for feedback continually throughout the writing process instead of waiting until a draft is complete. How should you structure typical business reports? Most day-to-day business reports are short, less than 5 pages, and written in memo, email or letter format. We will see 3 such structures today. They are progress reports, trip reports, and formal reports. If you are working on a long-term project, your supervisor or client may ask for a progress report that updates your status and indicates any potential problems or issues. When you return from a business trip, your supervisor or manager may ask you to write a trip report to document your activities and to share what you accomplished or learned. The biggest mistake writers make in preparing trip reports is to organize them chronologically in a narrative style. Structuring formal reports for print and online distribution. When you report on a major project or substantial research, you will most likely need to create a formal report. Formal reports may be primarily informative, organizing the results of a project or information from research. Here is how you make a formal report. Organize the report in distinct sections. Design the report for your audience and purpose. Choose the best electronic format for online distribution. Organize the report in distinct sections. Here is an executive summary of a formal report with following annotations. 1. The executive summary is a miniature version of the report. The summary comes directly after the title page. 2. The executive summary includes all important findings, conclusions, and recommendations. This summary uses subheadings to guide the reader. 3. All page numbers before the introduction are in lowercase Roman numerals. The title page counts as page number 1, even though it is not numbered. How to use software features to help prepare formal reports. Microsoft Word and other word processing programs offer powerful features that help you format formal reports. Save time and improve the professional look of your work by using the following features: automated styles, automated headings, automated table of contents, formatted tab styles, including dot leaders, automated page numbering, using both Roman and Arabic numerals, automated footnotes, endnotes, citations, bibliographies, automated labeling of figures and tables. Create a title page for identifying information. Include the name of the person or organization for whom the report was written, name and position of the authors, name of the author's organization, and finally, the date of submission. Preview the report with preliminary sections. Include the table of contents, executive summary, and introduction. Develop the details within sections. Organize the detailed discussion, or body, of a formal report with content-specific headings. Conclude the report with supporting information. 2 types of supporting information conclude formal reports or references, a list of secondary research resources and appendices, the supplementary information useful for readers, but that would otherwise interrupt the flow of the report's main body. Design the report for your audience and purpose. Manuscript-style reports are often used for internal reports. Try not using elaborate design elements. White papers are used for broader external audiences. They are published to build credibility and interest the audience in the company's products or services. They are intended to entice the audience with content and design. Choose the best electronic format for online distribution. They can be distributed on websites or pages, or circulated through PDFs. PDFs are the most common format for distributing reports electronically, particularly white papers. PDFs are often easier to design than web pages. They can be printed and stored on the audience's computer. They allow the company to track interested audiences with option of requiring contact information. Web-based reports provide flexibility in navigation and updating content. Web-based reports allow readers to browse sections of a report without downloading the entire report. They can be more interactive, with links to multimedia content and animated data displays. They can also be updated frequently without republishing the PDF. So, how do you prepare an effective proposal? What is the purpose, context, and content? To understand the purpose, ask yourself, what need are you addressing, and how do you propose to meet that need? To understand context, ask yourself, how formal and how persuasive must a proposal be? Is the proposal external or internal? Is the proposal solicited or unsolicited? Note that proposals may be solicited by an RFP, request for proposal, a formal invitation to submit a proposal. Is the proposal non-competitive or competitive? To determine the content needs, consider the requirements. If the proposal is solicited, the audience will explicitly state requirements. If it is unsolicited, you will need to determine requirements. Consider describing the audience benefits. Also, consider identifying potential objections the audience may have. Let's start compassing. Choose the medium, draft the content, and organize. How formal or informal should this proposal be? What is the best medium? Internal proposals are often sent by email. But external proposals are formatted as letters or formal reports. What content must be included? Statement of the problem or opportunity. Your specific proposal. Reasons for supporting it. Implementation plans, deliverables, and costs. How should content be organized? Overview or executive summary, attention-grabbing introduction, body, distinct sections with informative headlines, references, a list of sources, and finally, appendices, the supplemental information. And what word choices will be the most effective? Use active voice and appropriate tense. Future tense for what is being proposed. Present tense for your capabilities. Past tense for your past experience. Let us assess the effectiveness of the proposal. Ask yourself these questions, and if they are all an astounding yes, you are good to go. Does the introduction clearly address audience needs, solicited or unsolicited? Is the proposed solution a good way to meet the need? Does the proposal stress audience benefits and address their requirements? Will the audience be convinced that you are qualified and your proposal is feasible? Does the proposal include sufficient details? Does the call to action ask for agreement and offer response follow-up contact info? Is the format easy to read, with good headings and key points? Is the language clear, concise, and professional? Did you proofread? A request for proposal is an invitation for suppliers to competitively submit proposals to provide a product or service. So, how do you properly respond to a request for proposal, RFP? Structure a formal proposal like a formal report. Proposals longer than 3 or 4 pages require extra structure to help the audience navigate them. Appendices provide information that is too detailed to include in the body. Reference list documents all works cited in the proposal. Body pages, sometimes multiple, with headings. Table of contents allows readers to find information that interests them. Executive summary provides all the important points in one page. Title page provides proposal name, submitter, and recipient information, and date. Cover message introduces and explains the proposal, persuading the audience to read it. Follow specified guidelines when responding to RFPs. Create a checklist of the requirements the RFP identifies and ensure your proposal addresses each one. Figure 11.8, shown partially here, is a sample cover letter accompanying an RFP. The margin shows annotations made by the company preparing to write a responding proposal, highlighting the requirements the company will need to meet. Sections headings in formal proposal should reflect content in the RFP. Figure 11.9 shows a thumbnail view of Revson Communication Group's response. The proposal includes all the formal elements. Section headings reflect the content in the RFP. Use proposal writing software to increase efficiency. Benefits of proposal software are that it saves time by repurposing content or reusing content you have already created. Delivers the proposal electronically, as a web document, or as a PDF. Helps you track and analyze proposals. Supports online signing for faster agreements. Coming to discuss about culture, how do you write proposals for a non-Canadian audience? Differences between the Canadian approach to business proposals and that of other countries can be found in the proposal process. In China, negotiate verbally with face-to-face conversations where both parties can socialize, include several members of your team at different hierarchical levels, finalize with a written contract. Differences can be found in persuasive content. In Brazil, identify the social and status benefits as well as the financial benefits. Differences can also be found in the attitude towards signed agreements. In China, contracts are always open to renegotiation. Attitude toward oral agreements can also play a cultural difference. In Italy, oral agreements are honored, signing a contract is only a formality. How do you integrate visuals into reports? Data graphics are the best tools for communicating numbers. Always try to provide a picture of data, allowing you to see relationships and trends more clearly than text alone. How to choose the best form of display? Here we see a visual representation of comparison of presenting data in form of text, tables and graphs, with following annotations. Number 1. When numbers are embedded in text, the audience will find it difficult to make comparisons or see trends. Number 2. Table format make it easier to find exact values. Number 3. Graphs highlights trends and relationships by showing data as a shape. Choose the best type of graph. If a graph is the best way to display your data, make sure to choose the type of graph that most effectively communicates your message. Although many graph types are available, most business documents rely on the core set of 9 graph types illustrated in Figure 11.11, along with some variations. You can create all of these graphs with commonly available spreadsheet and graphing software. Let us go over the types of charts. Be sure to see the figure for the best practices of each graph. Pie charts show how one item is divided into multiple parts. 100% column chart are used to compare parts of multiple items. Horizontal bar charts are used to compare multiple items according to a single characteristic. Column charts show changes over time for a relatively small number of discrete time periods. Line charts show changes over time to emphasize a trend. Histograms or step columns show how data are distributed in a series of ranges. Histographs or frequency polygons show the pattern of distribution for a continuous series of data. Paired bar or tornado charts compare variables for a small dataset. Scatter plots compare variables for a large dataset. Design graphs and tables to communicate. Follow the best practices in graph design. Follow the best practices in table design. Title each table, arrange columns and rows in a meaningful order, label columns and rows effectively, eliminate heavy grid lines. Use shading strategically, remove unnecessary repetition from cells, align numbers to the right, align text to the left, and do not center content. Here is an effective table design. Look at how it follows perfectly all the rules we talked about in the last slide. Integrate data displays within the text. Follow this checklist when integrating data display and text, label and number figures and tables sequentially. Refer reader to the graphic within the text. Place graphic as close as possible after the first reference. Tell the audience what to notice in the graphic. Design the graph to be self-explanatory. Like always, ethics play a very important role when representing data. Businesses rely on data to make informed decisions. Therefore, graphs must display data ethically and not mislead the audience. Here are 2 examples of graphs. The first of them is misleading as the Y graph, or the vertical bars, start from $1.50. This will show very large discrepancies. Instead, start the graphs at $0 to be accurate. The visual data, this way, seems truer. Avoid pictograms and 3D graphs, which distort size. Make differences in the size of data objects proportional to differences in the data. A set of images below show how to represent data ethically. In the image on the left, the pictogram representing 2009 is twice as tall as the one representing 1950, but is also twice as wide. That means, in square inches, it is 4 times larger than the 1950 woman. The size difference between the 2 objects is not proportional to the difference in data. At first glance, the audience may assume the women in the workforce quadrupled. The image on the right is the more accurate graph. The 2009 bar is twice the height of the 1950 bar and is the same width. It is exactly twice the size of the 1950 bar. The size difference between the 2 bars is proportional to the difference in the data. Show your data in context. The set of images show how to represent data ethically. Image on the left is the misleading graph. Presenting just 2 years of data gives the impression that increasing the price of the product was a bad business decision. Image on the right is the more accurate graph. When the data is placed in a larger context, you can see that the drop in revenue was temporary. Provide the absolute number, n, when you graph percentages. A set of images shows how to represent data ethically. Image on the left is the misleading graph. The percentages give the impression that most employees prefer online training. However, the graph does not say how many employees responded to the survey, so it is unclear whether most employees prefer online or just a small subset. Image on the right is the more accurate graph. This graph puts the data in a larger context and it provides absolute numbers. It tells the reader that very few employees responded to the survey, but those who did respond favored online training. How should you document your research? Appropriate documentation of research serves the following purposes. It adds credibility. It strengthens your argument. It helps your audience locate information mentioned in your report. Helps demonstrate strong ethics by avoiding plagiarism. First things first. Determine what needs to be documented. Then, prepare the documentation. Write citations, text references, and reference list entries as you work on your report. A formal report must include all three of the following acknowledgements. Citations. Format, be it APA, MLA, or CMS, depends on one's organization or school. Text references introduce cited material by explicitly referring to the source within the text. Finally, reference list or bibliography. Let's revise what we have learned now. In the Analyze section, we understood the purpose and type of the report, our audience's needs and expectations. We learned how to decide the best medium for delivery of the report and design our information to fit that medium. Next, we have the Compose section, where we learn to prioritize our audience's needs and expectations when compassing. We have to make choices that fit those needs and expectations. We have to use an objective which is easy to read in factual style. We need to provide information that is relevant to the type of report, that is, progress, travel, formal, other. Lastly, in the Evaluate section, we have to review the accuracy, relevance, and length, get feedback from others, ensure we have met our audience's needs and expectations. We must double check for any or at all numeric data and graphic data for accuracy.